Adam Savage here in my cave with a tooltip and a show and tell, or a show and tell and a tooltip. I do a lot of wiring in here, and I have, in the past, I built this soldering station. I did a tooltip on USB-powered soldering irons. We'll include links to both of those in the comments below. This soldering station has been an absolute godsend here in the cave. It turned out to be precisely what I needed. I have never yet utilized the wire lugs in here. I forget that they're there. So sometimes, some of your design features may go away. But I use this almost daily here in the cave. So it's been stunning. And in my wiring, I just completed a couple of elaborate spacesuits with a lot of different electronic systems in there. And in implementing the electronics for that, and I am I don't consider myself an electronics dude. Like, I know how to wire something to a battery and a switch, and that's like mostly the limit of my knowledge, but it gets me pretty far. Within that knowledge set, I've discovered a couple of new products that I've discovered one brand new product and one ancient product I had forgotten all about, and both of them have made my life a lot easier, and I wanted to introduce you to them. First and foremost is these, which are low temperature heat shrink solder connectors. So the way these work is, they're also waterproof. You put a wire in one end and you put a wire in the other end, and you heat it with a heat gun like this. And the heat gun both shrinks the heat shrink tubing. And then this little metal pip in here is low temperature solder. It actually melts at a lower temperature than the heat shrink tubing, which blows my frickin' mind. And then you get a very nice waterproof solder connection. These two little red rings actually shrink around the wire. I have not put a wiring that I've done with these connectors under a high amount of stress, but I have nonetheless been incredibly impressed with how robust and simple they are, as opposed to getting out two wires, using your solder, using the soldering iron, battery powered, etc., and then putting the heat shrink on and use it. Like, all of those operations done in one fell swoop by this, and I'm going to show you how that works. Right. So I'm going to use some of my connector wire here, and we'll just expose a couple of ends on each side of the equation. I'm going to clear out about probably 3/8 of an inch of wire, give or take. I'm sure there's an official guide on how they prefer you do this. I have not looked at that official guide because I'm just terrible about reading the manual in some cases. But I have been finding that this way that I've been doing it works just spectacularly. So get one wire in here. I'm going to need to get my eyes on this. So what I do is I get the wire so that the wire is going right through that solder lug, and then I get this one going through there and bypassing the one that was already there. So now both of them are like in the ring of the low temperature solder, sitting like this. Yeah, there we go. Every time I show these helping hands that I found in China, I get asked for where I found them, and I have not ever found that eBay link again. I apologize. I myself put them on these bits of lock line, and they remain the best helping hands I've ever utilized. So here we go. We get a heat gun on low fan and high temp. I just bring this in here. And you can see it activating on the heat shrink. And I'm not trying to expose too much of it to the heat all at once. I'm trying to balance it out, but concentrating on the center there. And there it goes. That solder has just melted. You can actually see through it and see it flow. It takes a while to cool back down. I'm just going to let it cool down. And there you have it. A very respectable solder connection. I would do some testing before I considered this like a mission critical, high stress environment for wiring. Um, However, for low stress wiring, I found these connections to be robust. They made solid connections. I never had to redo one. And I love the idea of heat shrink, waterproof, and solder all in one shot. And I really like using the heat gun on the low heat. It's very gentle and relaxing. So these, oh, also, they come in many gauges. Hold on. They come in, yeah, here's the 4 that I found, and there's probably others. I am sure the Goldilocks connector of your dreams is among these. Yeah, I'm really digging these things. From heavy to really, really small. These are one of my new favorite wiring tools. Now, the other thing that I was dealing with my with the wiring of my spacesuits was that I had multiple sets of wires octopusing out to several different systems. And I had a wiring diagram, and I had places where I knew, this one had to go from here to here, and this one had to go from here to here. And I started taking out little bits of white tape and writing letters on them or numbers or whatever, and just starting to do this. And then I remembered this old product that I used like 30 or 40 years ago, and it is this. This is 3M Scotch Code wire marking tape dispenser. There are 10 discs of tape, each one with a repeating number on it. You can see this one's the number 0. So what you do is you mark your wire with this. So you pull off a little bit, and there's a little tape tear off surface there. Doop. And then close it back up again. Oh, and you'll need 2 of those because you're marking 2 ends of a wire. There you go. And so here you go. You put one around the wire here. There's your 0. And then at the other end, you put the other one. And then you know that this 0 is this 0. I cannot tell you how much problem solving using this stuff saved me as I worked through the iterations of the electronics. They were fairly elaborate. I had a couple weird shorts I had to suss out, and the numbering system saved my ass. These aren't cheap. This is like $30. Completely worth it. I remember using one of these when I worked at George Coates Performance Works back in 1991, 92. And back then, it saved my butt, and it never occurred to me, even through all of Mythbusters, to utilize one of these. I totally forgot about it until a few weeks ago, and brought it back into my process. So here you go. Solderless or soldering iron-free solder connector and tape with numbers on it. Both have made my wiring and electronics life much, much easier. This is Adam Savage in my cave, and I hope all your electronics work on the first try.